Professor Steve comes to Bloomers each Saturday. He does, except when he's in Florida.
Yeah,
but he has called in.
Yeah, that's why he called. Yeah, the bee.
And this past week, the discussion came up while he was there. And he was actually talking to my son Carl that where do bees go in the winter? So he ended up calling Bloomers in the hotline, Bloomers in the Garden Hotline, to give his question. So here's his call.
Good morning, Len. How are you? It's the professor. And I was at my class Saturday at 9 o'clock, as I usually am. And one of my students, Carl, had a question. His question was, what do bees do during the winter? Do they hibernate? Do they go to Florida? I said, I would get back to you as soon as I can, Carl, for next class. So maybe you could tell me. And Julio was absent at that class. Okay, have a good day and see you in the garden. Bye-bye.
Going to the chapel and sorry, ladies, Julio is off the market. Yeah, you're getting married.
That's right.
You're getting married.
Yep, it's coming.
Look at him turning red. I look at you all red. Yeah, that's a great thing. Julio in a few weeks is going to be a married man. Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you, man.
All right, the birds and the bees. You can learn that from somebody else. Anyway, so where do they go? And it depends on what type of bee you're talking about. Like for most folks, they think a hornet is a bee. Anything that stings you is a bee. So, but hornets, most of the colony dies off. Okay, including the worker wasps and the old queen. What happens is they form a new queen, and who is newly mated, so that she's filled with eggs, and that she finds a sheltered spot to overwinter in and hibernate until the following spring. So they do not typically use their old nests. So like if you see, that's why people can go and get one of those paper wasp nests and that they can take it down without being, sometimes there's some lingerers, but once the season has passed, let's say in the middle of winter or in spring, sometimes you'll find an empty nest. So, and that because they don't go back. Now honeybees, they overwinter. Some of the hive, like I think as much as 40% of the hive can die. But what happens is honeybees are in the hive. They cluster into they call it a cluster, or it's a ball around the queen, and they flex their their wings, and they're buzzing. Like if you go near a hive and you hear it in the middle of the winter, and it's because the bees are causing natural heat around the queen, and the hive itself keeps a temperature between 95 and 100 degrees, and so it keeps it active, and that's honeybees. What boy? I mean, they're talk about worker bees, and it's sometimes called a bee ball, and like and sometimes like because they switch spots. Like so that think about this. All right, so Aaron, you ever been outside where you didn't have the jacket on and it was really really cold and you shiver,
right?
Or you automatically shake?
Sure.
Bees will do that, and that's another way of adding warmth to the hive. And again, it's between 90 and 100 degrees that they keep the hive. And the bees in the middle will move outwards to the edge, and they cool down where the other ones can go in. So it's almost like a circular motion, and also there's cut down on oxygen. So honeybees are in a hive, and like I said, some will die. I mean, there's again 40% of the hive will die. You'll also on warm winter days you may see a honeybee. And it's basically cleaning out the hive. It's doing some things where it's doing some work cleaning out the hive. Not often, but that does happen.
Want to talk about hardy?
That's right. That's right.
Overwintering.
That's right. Bumblebees don't do the same thing. That instead, the bee looks for a place to hibernate, and when temperatures drop too low, most of the bumblebees die except for new queens who are mated in the fall with male bumblebees, and then these future bumblebee queens, I guess, will they be princesses? Anyway, that the bumblebee queens, are all big and fat, and they look different. Same thing with queens from, a queen honeybee does not look the same as a regular bumblebee, regular bee, or same thing with the bumblebees. So the queen goes underground or in holes in wood, and to stay dry. And when the spring comes out, they come out and they form new colonies. Okay. Wasps are similar to hornets. Hornets basically do the same thing. And solitary bees, like mason bees, do not overwinter. Instead, the adult bees die off, and that they basically the eggs in their pupal stage. They will go and they'll hatch, and then it's a new brood, I guess is a word. And where you mentioned, do they go to Florida? And actually, in some cases, they do. What happens is that there are bees in hives that are brought around the country to pollinate different crops. Like, for instance, they may be pollinating apples in New York State, but in the winter, they may be in Florida pollinating the oranges or citrus. So again, it's an interesting thing where it's mobile colonies, and I can remember a few years back where they actually a tractor trailer load of bees got into an accident, turned over, and man, you talk about a mess. So
sticky mess.
It is. But again, they do a service, and they pollinate so that we have good fruit. So